Welcome back to another episode of WordPress Tutorials with Pixelweb. In today's tutorial, we're going to go over the process of installing WordPress onto your web server. If the first thing you're going to need is a domain name, which is your website name, and a web server to actually house your website on. So if you don't have a domain name or a web server, you could visit shop.pixelweb.com and you can purchase a domain name with us and web hosting as well. So once you have your domain name and web hosting, you are then going to need to head over to wordpress.org if you want to install this software the manual way. And you will go to download WordPress and download. You click on the download WordPress with the version number selected. So the software will download onto your computer, and now you're going to have it on your system. What some web hosts offer you is what's called a one-click installation process, and this makes a world of difference. It makes it a whole lot easier to install WordPress. You would just go to your control panel, in this case it's Installatron, and then you would choose the WordPress package to install onto your computer, and then it's done. But if you're going to do it the manual way, then again it's just visiting wordpress.org and downloading the software. Once you download the software, you're going to need to take down some information from your control panel. You're going to want to head to the back end of it again and go to the FTP account section, and you're going to want to configure an FTP client. We recommend using FileZilla since it is a cross-platform FTP client that works on Windows, Macs, and Linux. So it's a very good program to use. They make it easy for you. You can just download a configuration file. They have 3 different configuration files here: one for FileZilla, one for Core FTP, and one for CyberDuck. So you can choose either the FTP configuration file or the SFTP configuration file. SFTP is actually preferred because it is more secured than the FTP version, but there's a couple of extra steps that we'll go over in another tutorial when we go over the process of securing your WordPress website. So once you download the configuration file, you're going to need, if you don't already have, you're going to need FileZilla on your computer. You would go to filezilla-project.org and you would download the version for your operating system that you need. And if you need help setting that up, you can just check out their documentation page, and they give you a wealth of information on how to use the software to upload your files from your computer to your web host. So you would just download that and set that up, and then you're going to have to go back to your control panel and create a database. So since WordPress is a database driven system, you need to create a MySQL database for that. So in your control panel, you'll go to where it says databases, and typically you're going to see a database wizard, which makes it easy for you to create a database. You just click on that link, and you're going to give your database a name. You're going to want to save the database server information. Typically it's localhost. You're going to want to save the database name and the database username, since you're going to need that to go forward with the actual installation process of WordPress. So here we're just going to give it a demo database name itself. You click next, and then you're going to need to create a database user. So we're going to create a demo user for this account, and then we're going to use their password generator. Just going to copy that. Click that you in fact copied it down, and then just use the password. It's advisable for you to use as strong of a password that you can, because it will help to secure your database installation. So once you give it the username and the password, just create user. And then in this section, you're going to have to grant all privileges to that user, and then click on next steps. Once that's done, you now have a database and you now have a database user. So now you can return home, and then just to confirm the database server name, you're going to go to what's called phpMyAdmin, and you're going to see here on the right hand side that the server is localhost. So typically most Linux servers, which are like 60% of all web servers found online, use the localhost name. So that's a pretty safe assumption, but you should always verify that with your web host, what server name they use. Alright, so once you have that, you are now set up to run the installation of WordPress itself. For the rest of this demo project, I'm going to do it on my local server. So for that, I'm going to just go to my downloads page. I'm going to copy the zip file, and I'm going to, let me just see if it's that one. I will paste the zip file there, and then I will extract the zip file. Once I have it extracted, I can then delete that. Alright, so in this part of the process, I'm just going to quickly create my database. So in my local host, I'm just going to go to database, create, and I'll just call it WordPress. Create. So now we have that set up. Alright, so now what you're going to want to do once you have the files uploaded to your server and the database created on your server, you're going to want to visit your domain name. So it's www.example.com or example.com, however you have it set up. And then in my case it's localhost, and then it's going to have this WordPress on the back end. And then you're going to see in the URL it's going to say setup-config.php. This is the configuration screen. It's going to ask you what language you want to use. In my case, I'll use English. And then it's going to give you this information that you're going to need in order to proceed. You're going to need, as I mentioned before, your database name, your database username, database password, and your database host. So the host is the local host, password is what you created for that user, and the username, and then the database name itself. Once you have that, click on Let's Go, and it will take you to another screen. In my case, I did name my database WordPress. You should choose a different name, obviously. It'll make it more secure if you do so. Since I'm on my local environment, my username is root and my password is root. Please choose a unique username and an extremely strong database password, just for added security. And then you could choose to change the table prefix. I will just stay consistent and use demo for my table prefix. Once you have that done, you click on submit, and if everything is done as it's supposed to, you will get this confirmation saying, alright Sparky, you've made it through this part of the installation. WordPress can now communicate with your database. If you're ready, time now to run the install. Click on that button and it'll bring you to this section. Here you'll give your website a name. So in my case, I'll just call it PixumWeb. You give yourself a username. I'm going to call it demo, and then it gives you the WordPress now by default gives you an extremely strong password. That's a great feature. What you're going to want to do is copy this down and save it in a secure place. Or you can use a password manager, which I highly recommend. Otherwise, you can change the password, but again, you're going to want as strong of a password as possible. This is for your actual website to get into the back end. So for now, we're just going to copy that. And then you'll put in your email account, demo@gmail.com, and then you're going to want to make sure this is clicked to allow search engines to index this site, and then you're going to run the Install WordPress. Once you do that, you're going to get a success message and with a button to log in. Again, your username and then your password. So log in. So I'm logging in here, and once you get to this point, you are in the WordPress back end of your website. This is the dashboard, and if you made it this far, then you have successfully installed WordPress onto your web server. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. If you have any thoughts or questions or comments, please leave them below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, since we're going to be providing you with a lot of information on how to use WordPress to power your website. And we look forward to speaking with you and seeing you next time. Take care.